One life with the fellas.
One life with the fellas.
Ooh, one life with the fellas is about to come on, y'all.
Maybe it's me, maybe it's that, no. Maybe it did, maybe it white, maybe it black, no. Maybe it mid, I'm from the mud, I'm from the mud. I got it all from the grid, taking the rig, taking the rig, taking the rig. Maybe it's me, maybe it's that, no. Maybe it did, maybe it white, maybe it black, no. Maybe it mid, I'm from the mud, I'm from the mud. I got it all from the grid, taking the rig, taking the rig, taking the rig.
One life with the fellas.
Yo, what's good?
What's happening?
What up, what up, what up?
What's up?
All right, man.
Man, if I was doing any better, I'd scare myself, man.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Yo, well, we back, man. We back one more time again. This is episode 10.
Episode 10. Yeah.
Sound about right?
That's what's up, man. 10 shows in this thing. That's what's up. So tonight, man, we want to kind of gear our conversation tonight, dealing with bringing awareness to domestic violence and bullying. Even though these were two things that was actually recognized in the month of October. We in November, my bad. In the month of October, but we felt that there was something that, that we can still bring forward to the conversation at the table, man, to educate people about maybe some things that, some people don't know too much about. They can get influenced on or educated on. So we want to bring that forward tonight. We have a special guest, Miss Brandy Stinson. Some if you guys follow her on social media or Facebook in particular, I know of. It's known she go by B Speaks. That's like the bug B, I guess, BEE and Speaks. So she'll be on shortly. Once she come in, we'll give her chance to introduce herself a little bit more in detail and let her give us her credentials and everything that she has going on, and then we'll dive into the show. But before we dive into the topic, man, one of our fellow, I guess, natives of Alabama has been in the news quite a bit, man, for the last few weeks. I know that there's 2 Alabama fans on here. I don't know about those other 2 guys. I don't know what team they go for. I don't think it really matters.
Not important.
It's not important. All right, so we'll slide on with that. So, yeah, man, but Henry Ruggs, man, it's a guy, man, that just was probably in a position for his career to really take off for real. And now, he's facing, I think the last thing I saw, he's facing like maybe up to, 46 years? 46 years in prison.
46?
46.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, for anybody that may not know, Henry Ruggs is...
You said 46 or 46?
46.
40.
Like 4 decades plus 6 more years.
Yes. So anybody that doesn't know, Henry Ruggs, star athlete, man, from the University of Alabama, actually locally from Montgomery, Alabama, went to Robert E. Lee, was a beast. I was fortunate to be able to see him play in high school, man. And the cat was an athlete of all athletes, for real. Had a great career at Alabama. And now he's in the league, got a nice contract. He just got signed and whatnot. Already recognized one of the fastest guys in the league. And, then now he has his DUI that he's facing and driving 156 miles an hour, gets in a car accident, kills someone at the same time. So I know there's a lot of people that's just been throwing this man under the bus, like just like really tearing him apart. What do y'all take on it, man? I'm gonna say I have a position on it, but I didn't want to hear from y'all first, man.
I get it, man, but I just want the same energy for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want the same energy for the dude that killed the Bramblets down in Auburn. I want that same energy. If you think this guy deserved 46 years, he just killed 2. The guy that did that, he killed 2 people, and then a month after him killing 2 people, he's caught again driving down a 45-lane road doing 90 again. So, obviously he didn't learn his lesson. He was not drunk or high. The second case he got caught speeding, but the first, they said he was driving while intoxicated. They didn't check his blood alcohol level, so they think that he was under the influence of some type of drugs, maybe opioids or some sort. But to me, that's no different than Henry Ruggs. To me, I don't care if you're going 50. You know, I mean, if you outside of the speed limit and you do that, it deserves the same energy. I don't care, you know, how reckless you think it is. It deserves the same energy. Still on drugs.
Totally agree with you about with the Ruggs case. I mean, living in Vegas, man, I get it. I totally get it. You young, rich, and you in Vegas. Stupid decision, very much so. Probably should have called Uber or Lyft. The NFL has a car program. He could have got someone to get him a car. However, even before we get there, they say the videos of him at Top Golf. They say he had 18 shots at Top Golf. At some point in time, that's over serving alcohol. Like the bar has to have some liability in that. Like you served this man 18 shots. Then he left there and went to another party. Like when I read what a wreck was from living in Vegas, I'm like, you on Spring Valley and Rainbow, ain't nothing over there but some apartments in the neighborhood. Why are you going that fast?
Yeah.
So, I mean, 46 years is rather steep. I think they added on the girlfriend because that was in the car with him because she got seriously hurt too. But a DUI causing the death in Vegas is 2 to 20 years and a $2,000 to $5,000 fine with the 36 months suspended license. So that and the reckless driving, I'm trying to really figure out how they got to 46. But I mean,
You know that too well, Nico.
Hey, I wasn't gonna say that, but I was like, but one sound, you know, you real experienced in this thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
that's why, for it, like, I know we sit here and joke a lot, but everybody, if you've had a drink, you've probably drove drunk at one point in time. And the statistics say that you will drive drunk 80 times before you get in an accident or get arrested. That's on average. Some people don't get caught at all.
That boy come with them stats.
So, like,
Hard.
stupid decision, bad mistake. He got to live with that. But don't just throw him away, you know what I'm saying, just because he made this one stupid, bad decision. Like, he's huge, but don't just throw him away like that. Because when he was out there catching footballs and running touchdowns for your team, he was all cheers. But he made this decision to drive drunk, and now you throw him away, throw him in prison. He don't need to have a life. Like, just.
I know this. For me, I know he's not the first football player to be driving intoxicated and having an accident where someone ultimately ends up losing their life. I know y'all familiar with. I think it was Dante Stallworth at that point in time.
Yeah.
He had a similar incident as well, and he still went on to continue to come back and play in the league as well. I think he has ended up not being like something like manslaughter or something like that. He got like a manslaughter charge for his accident.
And that is what happens in most cases.
Right. So
hold on, Merv. With Dante Stallworth, he wasn't charged with the manslaughter because the DUI. He was charged with DUI that in result of death. But since the guy wasn't in the crosswalk when he was hit, they ruled that it was dark and a sober driver would have hit him too. So he wasn't charged with the death. The penalty for his DUI was a lot stiffer than regular DUI. Like, the man can never drive again. Like, that's part of his plea deal.
What a lawyer.
Yeah.
What a lawyer.
He paid his family like $5 million too.
But I think for people in general, you know, and like T-Mar said, he's kind of being kind of crucified right now. But I mean, just take it as a lesson, man. No matter what status you obtain or where you are in life, you're not untouchable. You know what I mean? No matter how many dollars in your pocket, if you make a mistake bad enough, it's not only going to change your life, but change the life of the people around you. So um, I'll just say that. Also, we have BB Speaks waiting, Timar, if you want to bring her on.
All right. Well, I mean, I just made my little comment about the whole thing, and then we can get ready to bring her in, man.
Okay.
The one thing I would just mention, like I brought this up, of course, y'all know I teach a lot of stuff in class too. So, this is a conversation I had in class with my students because I have some high school students who drive. So like I told them to the point you made, Barney, as well, like, you not, nobody is above the law, period. But the one thing I wanted them to understand, and the part that I hate the most is, now we're throwing a whole judgment of character to this man on something that I'm quite sure all of us have done at some point. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and I'm not trying to downplay it, you know what I'm saying, as far as what he did do, because drunk driving is not right at all. But at the end of the day, like I'm talking to students who are going to be looking to drive here shortly and get out and drink and everything. They could probably make the same mistake and not even think about it. But at the same time, man, be conscious, be of all things that the people that you can affect. And if you do reach a certain plateau, like Ruggs is, understand that more expectations coming along with you. So if you are going to go somewhere where you're going to be given 25 or 18 shots or whatever it may need to be, throw them keys over to somebody else. I don't care if you got to go to sleep at Top Golf. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you got too much to lose. You know what I'm saying? So that's my little bit on it. But anyway, let's kind of go on to get into this thing, man. And the very like you had so much to go with that thing. You good?
No. I'm good, bro. I'm good.
All right, cool. So like we said, man, we have a special guest. Brandy Stinson is someone that I know that myself, Demeric, and Nico have we went to high school with. She's from Opelika, Alabama. Is doing some big things right now. She's when you hear Black Girls Rock, hey, she's one of those you can put up under that umbrella. So let's bring her on, man. Let's go and get into it and give her an opportunity, to speak on who she is and get into the topic at hand for the night.
Thank you.
Hey,
what's going on?
Hey,
What's
thank
up?
you. Man, thank you for that introduction. I was like, is he talking about me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Hold on, let me fix my little hair right here.
Go ahead. Do what you got to do.
Family. So we're going to learn, but y'all are like family. So can I just be myself? Is that all right?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Please.
Absolutely.
Nothing less.
Right.
Yeah, we don't want nothing less at all.
Right.
Hey,
But,
so to expound on that introduction, Brandy is the founder of Pearls of Esther, which is a women's empowerment group. Does a lot. You got a lot of eyes on you, man. People watching you, and also the Crazy Counselor podcast.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
She has a podcast of her own called The Crazy Counselor. I've heard a couple. I've also subscribed. So.
Thank you.
Yeah,
right.
Also, too, she has her own e-course. So we gonna fall back. You know what I'm saying? Just, hey, let the world know everything about Brandy Stinson, Beast Speaks, all of the above. Hey, break it in, man. So after tonight, you get you some more subscribers, followers, and everything, and people purchasing that e-course also too. So, that's one of the things we want to make sure we always been able to support Black businesses, man. So let's make that happen. Go and let us know let the people know who you are.
All right. Well, as you said, my name is my government name is Brandy Stinson, but I'm on Facebook as B Speak, so you can follow me there. But I am a licensed clinical social worker. I have been in the mental health space now for 14 years. If that does not date me or give you an idea of my age, I don't know what does. But I have a master's in clinical social work. And I'm dually licensed in Georgia, New York, and New Jersey. And so been able to service all of these areas during the pandemic virtually with telehealth sessions. I also have a nonprofit, Pearls of Esther Incorporated, as Demeric said. I'm also the host of the Crazy Counselor podcast. and author of The Power of Overcoming: 6 Essential Lessons to Help You Recognize the Power Within. And more recently, I have finally published an e-course, which is based on mental health. It is a sister to the book, and it's an 8-week course that you can actually walk through individually. I give you some prompts. There's videos, so I lead the teaching. And we just help you to just develop some awareness of some areas that you may be stuck emotionally. So it doesn't substitute for individual therapy, but it is a bridge for individuals who do not know where to start. So
how can you get to that course? I know, right?
Right. Y'all need some side effects on here. But you can actually go to my website, www.pearlsofesther.com. If you click the menu, you can just click on it literally says The Power of Overcoming e-course. Also, if you're on Instagram, if you go to Pearls of Esther INC, it's also in the bio. And I think that's it. I'll also send over the link to Marcus so he can post it as well. So
yeah, most definitely share that.
Yeah. To Marcus, do they call you T-Mar on here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I just want to be cool. I'm with the cool kids tonight. So
hey, because I'm finna say, do we need to say B speaks? Okay, we say Brandy. Like I ain't know what was going on.
You can just call me.
Okay, B.
That works. All right, good. All right, Bo, our bad, man. We done with the mini class reunion, man. We
right.
Bodie just sitting there like, all right, man.
All right, man. Let's get on the floor.
I'm gonna sign out. Let y'all have it tonight.
Right.
But no, man. Like again, we just thank you for carving out some time. With all those things that you have going on, we know that schedule is hectic for what it is. For just being a person of service for one, and so we definitely appreciate you. Just blessing us with your presence and this show and the followers that follow us on whether it's on Facebook, YouTube. And so we want to go ahead and get into it, right? So like I talked to you about, prior to the show, tonight we wanted to just want to bring awareness to bullying and domestic violence. We know those are two things that we hear often. And just like a lot of things that we hear often, sometimes we can misconstrue it as well. And so, I guess first thing we can do is like kind of identify bullying. And it was crazy because like in our pre-show, when we were just talking about, bullying and everything in itself. And I'm letting Nico share his story since he's put me out there like that. But, I was saying to the fellas, I said, man, and of course I'm coming from a classroom because, that's my background in education and everything. And I said, man, it's crazy how things that we did when we was in school, like I know, for example, me and Nico, we joked faithfully, whether it was on each other or if you sit next to the row in front of us, anything, we gave you the business if you was in class with us. Mm-hmm. And like that type of action, even if it got to a point where a student was mad or, and they did get mad, that probably made it worse. We joked even harder and laughed even louder. So, I mean, I look back on this, like I tell my students, I said, dang, man, I said, really, based on how things are categorized today, I said, I think I'm a bully. I was a bully back in high school. And so, Nico has, he swears up and down that I was the reason he got put out of class a lot because I was the one that was doing all the joking on folks. Is that true, Nico?
You were. I didn't do anything, man. I just showed up in class. I wasn't talking about people.
That's a stretch.
Wow.
That's a stretch.
Like,
but
even in the chemistry class, no, what was it, Miss Barnes?
Yeah.
Miss
Buckhout.
Miss Buckhout?
Yeah.
Wow. When you wanted to act like you was walking like her, and I got in trouble for it.
Listen here, man.
How you bully somebody with a broken hip, man?
Man, you didn't discriminate. You bullied everybody.
Oh my gosh!
Everybody with your shenanigans, huh?
I did. I ain't gonna lie. I did. Wow. That's why I feel kind of bad about it now, man. It's like, damn, I was like, jeez, it was bad. But like I tell my students now, because they like to try to joke and do all, try to go back and forth. Look, man, I grew up around this stuff, So you step in the ring, it's free game. We're gonna go forward. But at the same time, man, it's something that is a serious matter nowadays, probably more than anything else, right? Because you have a lot of kids who are taking their lives because of bullying.
Yeah.
You know, and I do remember one incident. I think Nico, you still don't know like at this time, but I think we was teasing this dude so much, and you know, he punched the wall and broke his hand. You know, and I got called into the office with the assistant principal and everything. She's like, you know, you have to pay this bill, and I'm like, I ain't telling him to go in and punch that wall. So she got mad at me and kicked me out of her office and whatnot. But when I think back to stuff like that, I'm like, man, that was bad. You know, of course, right? And so I guess can you speak to that as far as like the difference as far as how bullying is perceived now versus to how it may have been in the past? Is there anything you speak on that first?
Absolutely. I think that times have really changed. And I know that it's not like we're just that old, but if you look at just the way that kids are interacting as a whole and what's considered okay versus what was not, you know, what was okay for us versus what's not okay today, I think that things have been amplified by like 10. So whereas back in the day, we were just, you know, joking on you because you had some, you know, shoes that weren't brand name or whatever you chose to joke on somebody about. Today, it's escalated into, you know, sometimes, you know, very serious threats. It's escalated into physical violence. And like you said, you know, suicide was not something that we even fathomed as an end result of being teased in school, right? But now that's a very real possibility. When you hear about someone being bullied at school, the first thing you think about you usually think a lot of things, but probably one of the first thoughts that you have is, gosh, I hope that this doesn't impact this kid to the point to where they want to take their life, right? And even as, you know, like I said, back in our day when people were being teased, that wasn't a thought, that wasn't a conversation even, but now it's right there. It's happening even more. And so I do think that times have changed. You know, the severity of it has definitely amplified, and oftentimes, unfortunately, it does, or it can lead to even thoughts of suicide. And unfortunately, there are instances where kids have moved forward with that action. So it's definitely gotten more serious.
Yeah, I always say, and something I kind of give when I have discussion in the classroom with students, I ask a question. I say, you know, the joking and teasing things, I don't think it'll never stop, no matter what generation we go in, right? That's just part of kids growing up and being who they are. But I think going to the point, like you said, things been amplified. I asked them the question. I said, is a lot of that geared towards how much social media is relevant now? And when I do so, you know, a lot of them say yeah, because a lot of them give credit to the things that they do or wear, and everything they say is based on the responses from social media.
Right.
So what's your take on that? Do you agree with that, or you have any take on that at all?
I think social media 100% influences popular culture.
Right.
Everything from style to the way we dress, to the way we wear our hair, to our slang, to the music we listen to, everything is influenced by social media. And unfortunately, teens are definitely taking what they see on Facebook and Instagram and all of the above, and they are using that as a metric by which they measure themselves to be good enough, right? Which if you're on social media, you know you can never be good enough to keep according to social media standards, because somebody's always doing something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Right.
so I think that when we start to look at, you're exactly right, and you're leading your students in the right direction of, we have to get out of this mindset of comparing to social media, because it's not real life, but it also gives a very unrealistic standard. And I think that oftentimes that can turn into bullying, because if, let's say that for a 14-year-old, a teenage girl who looks on social media, she's looking at the Instagram models, with the what they call it, BBLs and all of that other stuff. Talking social media language here.
Yeah, that's right.
The bodies and all of that. You know what I'm saying? She can start to feel like she's not good enough. You couple that with boys who are seeing these things and who may tease this young girl who is not developed in certain areas. And so that's just one instance where you see how social media can play out in a real life example and how it can lead to bullying or teasing or what have you that can oftentimes weigh on their self-esteem. So I know I took kind of a long way around, but I hope that I answered your question.
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the DBL thing. That makes sense though.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
I think people should really understand that social media is just a highlight reel. You can't compare your regular life to a highlight reel. Like most people only put the good on there. And then
I wouldn't even call it a highlight reel because a lot of times people are living miserable in that situation, just faking the funk so they can display or have people perceive what they want it to be. Yeah,
right.
It ain't always is what it is, man.
Right.
Now, you see people with pictures all over Facebook and they end up divorced. Like,
right. That's why I say no face, no case until you get a ring. Ladies, are you listening? That's a whole little podcast episode, buddy.
I just talked right.
Ladies, even when you get the ring, stay off social media.
Right. Look, he said still no face, no case, right?
I want to go back and read this comment that Glenn Ray Cole posted. It says, so as a person who was bullied all the way through school, I can say that it scars people. Yes. I was joked on because of my clothes. I wore Pro Wings and off-brand shoes, sometimes until they fell apart. Being raised by my grandmother, I didn't get any brand name stuff until I was old enough to work and buy my own. But the same people that jacked on me back in the day don't live as well as I do now. I took that hit and used it as motivation.
Wow,
so I most definitely feel him on that. So I was not. I had this guy that bullied me in 7th grade, right?
Who was it, Demir? No, I'm just playing.
All right, who?
You was bullied?
I'm kidding.
Why you didn't tell us this in the pre-show?
Not take it away from it was like middle school, man. So not take it away from Glenn Roll, but I understand. So like you take the motivation sometimes, a lot of times you take the motivation from that you say, all right, I'm not gonna let it hold me down. Like I'm gonna use that to be better and do better. But yeah, man, I was in 7th grade, man. I had this guy who used to always pick on me for being smart, which it kind of affected me in high school because, I dropped out of all my honor classes in high school because I wanted to be with the cool kids. Because I would always get picked on for being smart and being with, not in the cool classes. So I think that kind of catapulted me into not wanting to do as others and try to do better so I can outshine them a little bit. But, I just try not to let it hold me down.
That made me want to ask, man, I mean, you don't have to share it if y'all don't, but like, do anybody else have like any incidents that happened maybe like during school where, something of that nature made you change how you went about things or whatnot? Anybody else? I got one, but
I have an example as well.
So for me, it just made me develop a lot thicker skin. You know what I mean? So it was either you gonna be the one, right? Or you gonna make the joke, or you gonna be the joke, right? Yeah. So that's kind of how my evolution in high school or in elementary school kind of went, right? So you either were in or you was out. So it was like one or two sides you were on.
Okay.
Yeah, man, I made broke look good in school, man, because I was way broker than people thought. I'm talking about like to the point where my mama gonna kill me if she see this, but I used to go to my girlfriend's house to take showers, bro, because we ain't had no hot water at times. Like, yeah.
Oh, you can get it when you get home.
I mean, but like, yeah, I'm saying like but I still made it look good. And like Murray just said, I would make the joke. Like I wasn't gonna give you a chance to joke on me. So right. I guess it goes into what I went with you, T-Mar. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. When you was joking on people, I was just laughing. We're gonna leave it at that because I was never joking on people.
Yeah.
Ever.
Brandon, B, what about you, B?
You know, and I've actually shared this at an event that a women's empowerment event that I hosted a few years ago. And I talked about this very thing about how and actually what the young man shared earlier about how the jokes impacted him into his adulthood. So believe it or not, when I would say up until middle school, I can remember being teased about my nose. And I grew up thinking because this like now we said this is the Stinson nose, like this is just our signature thing, like I embrace it now, like it's a part of my face, it ain't going nowhere. But I literally for years thought my nose is too big. Like I need to get like some surgery when I'm older? Like I legit remember being like, I do not like my nose. And that the funny thing is, or not even the funny thing, but the interesting thing about these insults is that when you really start to look at them, it's interesting how you can take somebody else's suggestion about your identity and who you are and make it as your own. So as I started to think about that thing, I was like, wait, it's not that I actually grew up looking in the mirror like, I don't like my nose, right? Somebody else suggested that to me. And I took it as my own and made it my own. And so I think that's why it's important that when we're looking at this subject of bullying and the teasing and all of that, and the laughs are not mutual, meaning that someone is being hurt emotionally by it.
Right.
That we have to, and often as adults, we have to come out of those negative beliefs that we formed as a result of that, because they were merely suggestions by somebody else. It's not that you grew up not liking yourself because you didn't like yourself. Somebody else told you not to like yourself.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I get joked on about my nose and lips a lot. Now they love the big lips and stuff, and so it was cool.
Right.
My nose is huge still too, by the way.
Right.
Wow, but what a joke that did, boy.
We just don't accept it.
Hey, but you know what though? That's kind of like, man, similar situation with me, like in junior high. Like I tell my students now, I said I was like teased on, like called Bobby's World, and students like, who is Bobby's World? I said, y'all know who Stewie is, Peter off the our Family Guy? They was like, yeah. I said that was the first Stewie. I said as far as statewide.
My bad.
And I'm like, they was like, when I do it, and I'm telling that because I'm embracing myself, because I know now I'm finna be the brunt of jokes coming in the classroom. So they look at me like, oh man, I can't believe it. Y'all can't see it, man. You know, the big head, little body, yeah, that's you. Yada, yada, yada. So they started joking and whatnot. So I was like, yeah, I said, but the thing that helped me deal with that, like in middle school, it was like, to your point, B, I twisted that to where I embraced it. Like you said, as far as like with the Stinson nose and everything like that. One of the traits of the Milners is this big thing right here, right?
Not my fault.
You know what I'm talking about? That's why I try to keep out the light too much. You know what I'm saying? Because if we do, the show gonna be over. It's blind too much, right? And then on top of that, we thin out a little bit as well too. So it's like, golly, man, I can't win for losing. So I feel LeBron James, man, with what he got going on right now. Like, right?
I ain't gonna say that on the show.
Time, like, I am. You know what I'm saying? But my thing has been like, I embraced that, like, because at the end of the day, I know that was me. I know I had a big head and a little body about this big in middle school. So it's like, I'm not going to walk around and have that tear me down when it's something I already know that's me as well anyway.
What you mean middle school?
It's okay.
Like, ain't nothing changed. What you mean middle school? Ain't nothing changed?
You know what? But I ain't that today.
My bad.
That's why when people see me down, they're like, "No, you don't find the games to white, baby." I'm like, yeah, whatever. But you know, that's I want to try to kind of go into a comment that we have, and I want to kind of bridge it in from bullying into the domestic violence thing.
Okay.
CJ Sparks is one of our followers. She also said she was bullied, but it turned her into the bully. I'm going to get you before you get me, and then she said it was a cycled behavior. So from that standpoint, I have the question of, and this is something me and the fellas have talked about a lot, and in my own little mind, I've always had a theory that, you know, and I haven't seen anything or really took time to look up to have statistics and whatnot to support. But I've always felt that those that, and I'm not saying that Sparks is someone who does domestic violence and anything, because like she said, it's a cycle. But if that behavior is not broken, at the time of being from a junior high student or whatever it may be, and now you become an adult. For me, I feel like those are characteristics that have been embedded and give the foundation to someone who does become someone who is an abuser. When they do get into relationships and whatnot. So, what you guys think about that, or any of y'all, and including V as well?
So I tried to bridge that gap. So I could not find the statistics on that, and I think because it may be inhumane to probably study bullying up to that point. How would it be to watch an individual grow up being bullied all their life and no one does anything about it? Like, they're gonna prevent it. So it's hard to research that, and it's hard to study all right what somebody happened to over the course of their life. So you got to kind of find that on the back end of that research. So it's kind of hard to pull together. But do I believe that is the case? I think most people that are like that are abused at some point in their life, whether that's physically or emotionally. But I don't think scientists have really connected those dots of the two. Not 100%. I don't think so.
Okay. Anybody else? If not, B, you can give us your feedback on it if you have any.
I do. Now I see a button here that says show chat. Does that mean I'll be able to see the comments?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. That's better. So there are a few thoughts. I do think that a person who has been, so let me just be clear. We're asking if a person who has been bullied can grow up to be the perpetrator in domestic violence, right?
Correct. Or
Okay.
they were the bully. Can they grow up to be the perpetrator in domestic violence? Yes.
I think that they absolutely can. Would I say that factor alone would make someone a perpetrator? No, I don't think so. I think that you can grow just like you grew out of the teasing, and once you matured, you realize, like, wow, I could really say some things that could hurt people. I think that, a person can change or they can stop that behavior. But I do also think that there are cases where, with the right cocktail, the right mixture of things, I think that a person can absolutely grow up wanting to protect themselves. I think one of the key things about abuse is that it's all about control. It's not about love. It's not about being, so in love with a person. It's all about control. And so usually a perpetrator of domestic violence, they want to be in control. And the way that they are in control is by use of often domestic violence. And I want to clarify that domestic violence is not just a physical abuse. I talk about an experience that I went through that was emotional abuse. And until I went through that experience, I did not understand how, just like someone said in the comments, how words can be even as damaging, sometimes even, I don't want to say more damaging, but they can be just as damaging as physical. The only difference with words and emotional or psychological abuse is that you can't see my scars on the outside. I'm hurting on the inside, but I don't have a black eye or a bruised arm to show you that, right? I just have a bruised mentality or a bruised self-esteem that I have to reckon with. And so I want to say that I definitely think that as a person who bullies or a person who's been bullied, yeah, you could grow up to be a perpetrator, but I think that there are also other factors that will play into that. Like, did you observe abuse at home? Did you observe that's how your father or your stepfather, your uncle, that's how they treated your mom, or that's how your uncle treated your aunt, and he thought that was okay, and he told you that, if you want to keep a woman, you have to hit her. Don't let her talk back to you. She needs to shut up. She doesn't have an opinion. What are the other factors that came into play?
That would definitely be a fight with my uncles and everybody that said that I can't take it.
Yeah.
It happens.
But if you grew up used to it, then I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I can speak from personally, man. That was the things I did see growing up. I'm glad I didn't probably see it as much. I always sit back and question, like, if I saw those things when I was in my developmental stages of growing up, like 10 going into teenage, how much would that foster into me being who I am currently today when it's talking about being in relationships with anyone, or like I said, just having that feeling of I got to be in control because these are the things I saw that influence my mind or process, or when it does talking about being in a relationship with anybody, and that doesn't have to be just with a girlfriend or a wife. That could be with these fellas right here that's on this podcast, where we're like trying to manipulate and control, the relationships that I have with them individually. But I'm thankful that I didn't see it. It kind of cut off when I was like 5 or 6 years old. So that gave me the opportunity to see lenses in another, things in a different pair of lenses, to where I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not a guy that I do want to be, just because I did see it at some point in my life growing up and everything, man. So I definitely agree with you on that. And I pose that question because that's just like I said, it's just things I've seen in the classroom, of course, and on the outside of it as well, being seeing people in relationships and whatnot. And I've always seen like a correlation of, for one, is insecurity.
Yes.
Like that person that's the bully, they have something that they're insecure about, right? So what do? They try to control the narrative in the situation for. So that person that's being in domestic, being a perpetrator in domestic violence, like you just said, they're also trying to control the narrative because they're insecure about something.
Right.
And so that's why I just asked that question. Of course, there are different factors that are out there. But it just, for me, I've always just sat back and scratched my head. I wonder there's a correlation in some form or fashion. I had another question I want to ask you when it comes to domestic violence, and I don't, if you have numbers, that's fine or not. Anybody gonna hold it against you? I know we on social media and everything. Like how you gonna have on your booty, have us stuck together? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But it is domestic violence something that is that occurs more in Black households than any other household? Is there anything out there to prove that? Or what?
And I don't have statistics on me at the moment because statistics change all the time, and so I don't have the most current statistics. Forgive me for that, but I as far as what I've seen in the mental health field as a whole, I would not say that anything occurs more than the other. We can't conclusively say that. I think it may be reported less. A lot of mental stuff dealing with mental health is reported less in the Black community. And listen, I'm gonna say a phrase, and y'all are probably gonna say it with me. I'm gonna let you finish it. I'm gonna say the first part. When you were growing up, when we were growing up, everybody knew what goes on in this house. What
Stays in
Stays
there.
in this
stays in this house. So even if mom is being abused, you better not tell anybody. You better not tell your teachers. You better not tell your friends. You better not tell your friends' parents. You better not tell anybody. And that mentality alone, we talk about that so much in the mental health space, about how that mentality alone has kept a lot of people from speaking out about trauma. Let's even extend it past just domestic violence. We talk about sexual abuse, molestation, physical abuse that happens between adults to kids. I can't tell you how many times in my office I meet with adults who are trying to process being touched inappropriately by their uncle or by a family friend, and they cannot understand that. They can't wrap their minds around why that happened to them. But they have literally, it could have been something that happened when they were 6 and they're sitting in my office at 41. Sometimes haven't told anybody. And if they did tell their parents, guess what? You're not telling the truth.
Yep.
What did you do? See, you were being fast. So it was probably because you being fast and whatever. They were blamed for it. And children will recant. They'll say, well, did that really happen?
Yeah.
I better not tell anybody else then, because that was my fault. So that when we talk about abuse, I think it's important that we open up the discussion to and maybe even in another forum, but it's just such a long range of things that falls under that. What goes on in this house stays in this house, and domestic violence definitely is something that I would put under that umbrella. It may be just less likely to be reported.
Why do you think that's the case among our households, that we have this kind of like an embedded mentality of what stays in his house, what goes in his house stays in his house.
I think there's a lot of mistrust of authority.
Yes.
There's a lot of
Absolutely.
mistrust of, police officers. There's a lot of mistrust with doctors, social workers, all of the above, and reasonably so. I mean, if you look back at history and what we've come from, traditionally, we just have not had the most positive interactions with law enforcement or
Right.
authority of any kind. So the best way to stay safe was to not disclose to people anything that was abnormal that was going on in your household. Keep those people out of our business. Don't, because it could mean trouble.
Yeah. And then to seek out there, even to a counselor, to say you need help is like, all right, well, if you need to see a counselor, you must be crazy.
Right.
So, that's also, frowned upon, because if you're going to see anybody in therapy, you must be crazy.
Right.
Something has to be like actually mentally broken.
Right. And it's not. So if anybody's listening, good point, Demerit. Listen, you don't have to be really going through and can't even get out of the bed to go see a therapist. If you have a thought like, I wonder what it's like to see a therapist, you got insurance or you can pay for a session, go see a therapist. There's nothing bad that's going to happen. We're not going to kick you out of the office like you don't have enough going on. This session is boring. Get out of here. We are not going to do that at all.
Like, girl, you ain't talking about that. Get out of here.
Drama, right? No, we're not going to do that. Go see a therapist. 9 times out of 10, you may go in there like, I don't have nothing to talk about. I've had a therapist, and there are times when I've gone into a session and said, gosh, I don't have anything to talk about. And then we get in that thing and we start talking, and by the end of the session, I'm literally in tears.
Wow.
It happens. We all have stuff. So
Please go seek therapy. Please.
Go see a therapist. Like, if you're curious, go see a therapist. I just want to throw that out there.
So why we on that? Why we on that? What is the best way of finding a therapist? Or picking a therapist?
So the best way to find a therapist, there are a few websites that I often recommend.
Well, I mean, like specifically picking a good therapist for you, because all these therapists have different titles behind their name or licenses behind their name, and sometimes they get confusing, or not even confusing, but even when you find like family counselor, how do you just decipher between all of what's going on, which one to kind of say, all right, I think she'll ride with me?
Right. That's a good question. There are a lot of different licenses out there. First of all, you want to see a fully licensed therapist.
Not a life coach.
No. And although life, and I'm glad that, listen, this is why I love One Life with the fellas, because y'all, I just love y'all. Let me just say that. I love the work that y'all are doing. First of all, let me say that I love the awareness that y'all are bringing. But I'm glad that you brought that point up, because I have some amazing friends, colleagues who are life coaches, but they understand that there are limits to what they can do in the realm of mental health. So I would not recommend seeing a life coach for trauma or therapeutic reasons, because there are two different things. Usually a life coach ethically should refer you to a therapist if they're working with you on, your goals or what have you, and your depression or anxiety or trauma or what have you is getting in the way of the work that you're doing. You should be referred to a therapist, and you can see both. That's the thing. You can absolutely see both. But in terms of therapy, there are a few different licenses. There's clinical social workers. There's licensed professional counselors, licensed mental health counselors. There's licensed marriage and family therapists. We all operate in the same thing. We all studied the same theories in school, right? So you can pick from either of those. Also, I think one of the misconceptions is that you have to go see a psychologist, and that's not true, because therapists can also provide services. Psychologists they can do more testing as well. There's some testing that they can do that we can't. They may be a little bit more expensive. But again, psychologists are amazing at what they do, but you're not limited to just seeing psychologists. So any of those, you can go to psychologytoday.com. Teresa mentioned that you can, call your health insurance and ask them for an in-network provider. I often recommend therapyforblackmen.com. There's blackfemaletherapist.com. There's therapy for black girls. So those are just a few of the resources that I recommend. But you do want a licensed clinician. Also, the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. See, y'all got me going now. So stop me if I'm talking too much. The difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist is that psychologists do not prescribe medication. Psychiatrists do. Okay. Psychiatrists usually don't do therapy. They prescribe mental health medication. So usually your therapist and your psychologist / psychiatrist, they'll kind of work hand in hand to know what your diagnosis is and to also make sure that you're getting the right combination of therapy and medication if that's what's needed.
I got a question. You kind of touched on it, but I'm gonna try to stem it from one of the comments that was made. I think it's by Tina. She said a child's development stages start as early as 2 years of age. For example, if a child is spanked when he is a toddler, they may exhibit behavior bullying their peers because of the externalized behavior how they was treated as a child. That externalized behavior of a child will surface once they become an adult negatively or positively. With that being for what it is, do you see that being like one of the reasons of why we have something that could be identified as underlying trauma from in our black households of going back like what you said earlier, what happens in this house stays in this house. So it's like we are pushing a cycle of these type of things that happen. Do you think that's something that happens often or not?
You mean when it comes to like the spankings and all of that, like the whipping and
Yeah.
That's a very good question because we came from a day and time and a hometown that believed in some whippings.
Yeah, you up.
I just had a flashback when y'all said it.
Right.
Anybody.
Listen,
and Barney not exempt because he from Selma. He not exempt. He was the same way down there.
Right, I agree.
Our parents believe, man. Listen, they would even. I remember some instances where some parents came to the school like they didn't even care. They'll come up like, "What?
What in Madonna Thomas is that?"
Right. Right. Nico, he's having some. He gonna start twitching the minute like, "Oh, okay."
Right.
Call my therapist back.
Right. But I do. Again, times have changed, and I agree with the comment that. Sometimes I think that maybe the corporal punishments may have gone too far and we just didn't say anything. If your parents cursed at you, called you stupid, called you the B word or MF or whatever. I'm not going to say that on y'all show, but if they called you those things, then and you heard those words more than you heard your own name, then I'm pretty sure that did something to your self-esteem. I think that our parents are, as the comment said, when we're in our formative years, meaning we're children and we're developing, what we learn about ourselves, we get from our external environment. Often we get that from our parents. And there's a proper amount of nurturing that we need. And there are messages that we're always getting from our parents about who we are. And I think that if we're always, we're not allowed room to make mistakes. We're always getting whippings for making mistakes. We're called names, constantly being cursed at, and all of the above. I do think that weighs on a person's self-esteem, and it can make you act out, for sure.
So with Teresa and I think it was Sparks also too, just gave this. I think this is a good tip for everybody to know that you can seek some of this assistance that B was talking about within your job insurance plan. Like I think it was Spark said, it may be listed up under as behavioral health, or if you don't see therapy. So, and I think that's great to know, just simply because, it's something that we don't think about, of course, as far as us black folks, because to the point, like we talked about earlier, whatever happens in this house stays in this house. Right. And a lot of us are already embedded with that mentality. So if it does come to something where I need to seek some assistance, first, we probably be even embarrassed to go even ask our supervisor, is this being offered? And even if it is being offered, I guarantee a lot of us wouldn't even know to even ask about it. They probably think they had to go externally to a third or fourth party, whatever it may be, to get this help. When it's like, hey, this is something that we offer for you guys right here, right now.
Right.
I know when I used to work at Lee County Youth Development Center down here in Opelika, that was one of the first things they told us in the orientation, that on our insurance plan we have where you can get any therapy or anything that you may feel that you need, and I felt I appreciated that because they kind of let you know, even if you didn't know exactly what you was getting into, once you do, just let us know, because we got some stuff over here that's going to help you out to cope with the days that you're going to be dealing with some stuff, because you can't really pinpoint what you're going to deal with working at a place like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that's really really important, really dope, and I appreciate them for giving us that information, especially for those that may not even knew or even thought about the fact, oh man, I didn't think about it. My job could have something like that for me. So definitely appreciate y'all for that comment.
For sure.
Let me see. Was there any other comments, man, that y'all saw that we can go to? I saw one, Ms. Brandon Rollins. She said she didn't grow up with abusive parents or seeing parents in an abusive relationship, but I did find myself in an emotionally abusive relationship with my son's father. He was very controlling, manipulative, and intimidating to this day. He used to affect my son in school and how he played sports. Man, I can tell you from my coaching days, I saw a lot of that stuff too, where especially too, if you had a parent that played ball and they finally got that child that's coming up,
I see it a lot, like coaching action and track and football. There's a couple players on this team who might not eat if they mess up. Like, I've heard their parents say this. I'm like, you cool with saying this in front of all these people, that your son messed up on a play so he can't eat tonight?
Right.
No.
Right. You don't think that's traumatizing to that child? Like,
wow.
But if you hear stuff like that, or you see stuff about that stuff happening, what can you do in those situations? Because a lot of times, you can't really necessarily prove or pull that child out of that situation.
Yeah.
What do you do in those instances?
Man, what I did I just told the dude coming down the street, man, I'll feed you. Like, just ask your dad, can you spend the night down here right now? That's the only thing I could do at that moment, because I didn't know if Buddy was serious or not.
I think that's kind of like one of my questions, especially like with mental abuse. A lot of times you don't see that, and you want to say something, but even if you do, like, how is that person going to respond once you say something? I didn't even hear of the term gaslighting until like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And you can tell a person all day, hey, that's not right or whatnot, but they have to kind of see it for themselves and kind of get themselves out of the situation. So can you necessarily help those people in that situation? Even kids, like, that's even harder to even touch on. Unless they're being physically abused, it's going to be hard to prove or pull them out of the situation.
Yeah, like you said, it's hard because you don't know if the parents are just saying that. But you can, we always say, if you see something, say something. I don't think it would hurt to say, hey, were you serious? When you said that, was that for real? Or kind of jokingly say, well, I know you playing. You gonna feed them when they get home. See their reaction. And if you feel like they're being for real and the child is starving or what have you, then that's a cause for serious concern. You can always verbalize your concern. People can get mad at you all that they want to about verbalizing a concern, but at the end of the day, you could be saving a life. We've heard in recent situations, I think it was in Philadelphia, where the lady was being raped on the train, and people nobody said anything.
I made a post about that. Like, this was a 45-minute encounter, and nobody they still got cameras. Like, how do you allow it to happen?
Right. They didn't want to say anything.
And even the security that was on the train, I'm not sure their proper title, but they wouldn't do anything until the train stopped. How do you allow this to happen? As a human being, you let this man torture this woman, and she's going to be messed with for the rest of her life.
So I will say this from a standpoint. So when I was in high school, right, I was at a wrestling tournament in Huntsville, and this guy walks in, and this girl standing in the corner, he just started beating her up. He drags her out by her hair out of the restaurant. So, it's like 6 of us, you know, we were wrestling team, so we like, man, we're gonna get this dude, man. So we walk out, they go approach this dude beating this girl, and as soon as we do, he pull out a gun. So in a lot of those instances, man, like you don't think about that. You know, you just see this happening and you want to help, but as soon as you do, you know, he pulls out a gun. You know, you gonna get shot for that person. You know, I mean, all we could do, especially as kids, you know, we called the police and got a tag. But man, it's kind of that's kind of the scary situation about that is when you step in, that person got something more than them. But I
know we don't like to hear it, but we can always utilize law enforcement. Listen, we can all if something goes wrong in my neighborhood, we have a little app up here called Next Door. I don't know if y'all have that.
Yeah.
People are always like, something's going on next door, and people are like, go talk to your neighbor. I'm like, I ain't going to talk to my neighbor about nothing. If something's going down over there,
at their house, I'm at my house.
Right. If y'all outside fighting, I'm gonna go out there and be like, hey, whatever. But you better believe I'm having 911 on the phone, because if I can't protect you, or I can't, you know, the person's got a gun. I'm talking about situations where a person has a gun. You can always call 911.
Right.
But again, I think in our community that's shunned. Don't call the police, because they're gonna come out here and they're gonna shoot them. Next thing you know, we're gonna have another black man that's murdered on the news. You know?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things you can always call the police. And there's actually research. I think it's called the bystander. I think it's called the bystander bias or something like that. There was a study. There was an incident years ago. A young lady, I think her name was Kitty Genovese. She was assaulted and she died, or maybe she was raped. Either way, she was assaulted, and people literally walked by and didn't say anything. And she was killed. And they teach us about that early on in our studies to show us just the mindset of why people can see abuse happening and be like, that's not my business. Let me stay out of it.
I hate that.
Yeah, it happens.
You got to at least call the police. I don't.
At least.
But most people think they walking by thinking somebody probably already called the police, or somebody else is going to step in, so that they do not step in.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's definitely true. That's true. I think a good way, man, kind of conclude to summarize this night is with the comment I see that's made with I think Sparks made this as well. With generational curses have to be broken. Speaking on mental health and abuse is going to set us free.
Yes.
I think that's we can't harp on that enough, man. I think even the topic about generational curses is something that I know I didn't hear it a lot coming up, but I think it's something that our generation, starting to push that more. Because we are being educated a little bit more, or I would just say differently, than just some of the things that happened while we was growing up, and even just with us with One Life with the fellas, man. When we talk about things that we have talked about, when we talk about finances, there's generational curses with financial management as far as in the black household. With relationships, there's generational curses that comes along with that. But if we don't identify some of these things for just truthfully for what they are, I mean, we're deemed to repeat the same cycle, and things won't be. We can harp and march and scream all day long about wanting a change and whatnot, but we got to identify some stuff within ourselves first, individually, of course, and collectively as a group and as a whole as people. So, we thank you, Sparks, for that comment. I think that's a good segue, getting ready to wrap this thing up for tonight. B, if I did overlook any of the outlets that you mentioned earlier, as far as with the e-course and the websites and things like that, please send those to me. Again, if you don't mind, because I may have overlooked it. It's been a crazy day today. But we'll definitely excuse me. We'll definitely pub that on. We'll definitely pub that on the page, and tag you in it as well, so we can give people that information that you have to share. And if anything, they may, like if y'all missed it earlier, she said she helps virtually. So, even though she's not in Alabama and whatnot, but she still can be of assist for you from a therapeutic standpoint. So, this can be another outlet and resource. And again, man, we just thank you for the time,
Thank you.
the information that you have shared tonight. It was on point. It was spot on. When we got to talking about mental health, you was one of the first names that probably like, Brad, we like, man, we got to get Brandon on here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Like Demeric said, we've been watching, you know what I'm saying? And seeing
Thank
the things that
you.
you've been doing and supporting from afar. So we definitely
Thank
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Fellas, did y'all have any closing remarks, y'all, before we leave out? And we'll give B a chance as well to close us out with her remarks, and then we'll give it to Nico to take us home.
Dude got one, maybe two.
Okay.
Seriously, seek therapy. Do not call me because you're gonna end up drunk with more problems.
And they don't see the relationship tips that you give them, man. Like, God,
Oh my God, those things are a train wreck. And then you throw it out there and be like, but don't inbox me. I'm just saying. Shoot your shot, but don't inbox me. Leave me alone.
I'm saying you got great advice, man. This is what I do. I'm here all day. Hit me for more relationship tips. Also, not to step on or shun anyone's religion or anything, but a lot of people are taught to pray when you have problems. I think the Bible, correct me, T. If I'm wrong, the Bible says something about faith without work is dead. So you can pray all you want to, but you still got to do some more work to go along with it to get the help that you need.
that's a word,
Make
Pastor.
sure you do that. That's what I had, though.
That's a word, Pastor. Come on, Tom.
I know. Look at him.
Love
Correct me if I'm wrong, Timo.
Right. I'm like, come on, people. Like, come on, dude.
Timar is the resident pastor on the.
Hey, they been trying to give it to me every episode, B. I don't know why.
God, that's hilarious.
Anybody else, man?
Yeah, I'll say this. I think a lot of stuff that we're held back from is our fear of being judged by someone else. So with that being said, don't be afraid to get the help you need for fear that someone else may judge you in any aspect that you need in your life. So because you getting help only is going to make you better. So with that, if you need help, seek help. If you know someone who needs help, refer them, talk to them so they can get the help that they need.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think everybody needs a little counseling in their life. And be vigilant, man. Pay attention to those around you. Encourage them to do better, know better, share this information. And nothing more I can say to that, man. Just, look out for each other.
All right, B. Got any final words for us?
I thank you again for this opportunity. I am honored, and let me say that it means something for the people from my hometown who knew me way back when to say, "Hey, you're doing a good job, girl. You're doing a good job." That was a TikTok song.
Right.
It hit different when your people say you're doing good. So I just want to say that's special to me. So I cherish those words. Thank you. I love the work that y'all are doing. Keep talking about mental health. Keep making it loud. Keep talking about it. Keep tearing down the stigma. And yeah, like all of you have said, get the help that you need. It's your healing process. You don't want to be stuck at 41 still talking about what happened when you were 8.
Yeah.
It's time to move on. You may not forget what happened, but there's a way that you cannot allow it to control your life. So get what you need, fam.
Hey, Nico, I did want to say one thing before you close us out. If y'all did see that quick live video while we was probably heard the pre-show in the background and everything, but my daughter MK, she told y'all haven't done it yet, go subscribe to the page on YouTube. So don't disappoint an 8-year-old girl. All right, go ahead. My bad.
As always, like we've been saying, make sure you get the help you need. And as always, I love you. Have a great day on and with purpose every day. Cool. Peace and blessings.
Appreciate it.